22 million black victims of Americanism are waking up, and they're gaining a new political consciousness, becoming politically mature. And as they develop this political maturity, they're able to see the recent trends in these political elections. Any minority that has a block of votes that stick together is in a strategic position. Either way you go, that's who gets it. You're in a position to determine who go to the White House and who stay in the doghouse. You're the one who has that power. You and I have never seen democracy. All we've seen is hypocrisy. Today, look around America. We see America not through the eyes of someone who has enjoyed the fruits of Americanism. We see America through the eyes of someone who has been the victim of Americanism. We don't see any American dream. We've experienced only the American nightmare. Benefited from America's democracy. We've only suffered from America's hypocrisy. And the generation that's coming up now can see it and are not afraid to say it. And are not afraid to say it.
And are not afraid to say it. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You are tuned into Black Westchester Presents the People Before Politics radio show. I'm your host, AJ Woodson. Damon K. Jones will be joining me soon. And I got my brother from another mother, Dr. Bob. What's going on, sir?
What's up, AJ? How are you today, man?
Good to be with you. I'm good. First, big birthday shout-outs. Damon K. Jones' birthday was yesterday, along with our sister Tasha Young. And tomorrow is the national holiday, Dr. Bob Day.
What? Yes. Hold on 1 second, AJ. I have an extra feature in the background. Give me a second. Thank you for the early happy birthday wish, brother.
No doubt. So yeah, celebrating birthdays. There's a lot of other birthdays. Shout out to everybody else who's celebrating a birthday this week. Real quick on the hip hop news, I just want to throw this out there real quick. Shout out to my homie. We lost another hip hop legend, DJ Polo, as in Coogee Rap and Polo. Definitely another loss to the hip hop community. So my condolences go to his family, friends, and fans. I just saw the post yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Yeah, Chuck Chill Out posted it. So that's when I got up on it. So shout out to family, friends, and fans of DJ Polo.
Yes, I join you in extending our condolences.
Word. So what's good, Bob? What's good?
Well, AJ, I've been, busy working on my project, man.
Oh, no doubt.
I think I'm done. I thought I was done last night. I'm gonna have to start from the beginning, but there's some errors in my data that I have to manually correct. So, been doing that, trying to get ready to celebrate, my birthday, of course, tomorrow. I'm not getting any younger. None of us are. So I've got to take out time to celebrate.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and then, like everyone else, thinking about the significance of the selection of Kamala Harris to become the, presumptive Democratic nominee, those kind of things.
No doubt. There's a lot of excitement around her as a presumptive presidential nominee candidate. But there's also a lot of people. I notice there's a lot of I can't vote for her because this, and I can't vote for her because that. Which is the difference between the Democratic and the Republican Party, because they will vote for their candidate even if he is in jail. The Democrats, I guess that's what democracy is. Everybody's expressing their opinions and their feelings, and everybody got a right to support who they're going to support. But it is a very important election. But I am seeing a lot of mobilization around her, women who will vote, black men who will vote, white women who will vote. I think there was Latinos voters, and a couple other groups having these big Zoom calls, mobilizing for Kamala Harris, and it's exciting to see people participating in the democratic process on that level. And there's an excitement that may not have been around um, for the Democrats in the black community since Obama. Um, I'm seeing a similar movement, but taking it to the next level. So, um, but there's a lot of people that have a lot of negative things and are against her for her work as a prosecutor and several other things. So,
Right. And that was one of the things that was weighing on my mind rather heavily, AJ, over the course of the week, because amongst other places where I heard expressions of skepticism about her candidacy and the likely impact that it would have on the black community, especially, I saw being voiced on Facebook. Now, I have to say that as I reflected on who was raising these questions, I often wondered to what extent they were likely to vote. Since I happen to do a lot of analysis, the voting rolls here in Westchester County, I am able to discern the records show people who are likely to vote. Some of the people who were weighing in on this debate, although registered Democrats, have actually never voted in their life. And in that sense, I was somewhat hopeful that maybe this is a pattern, that those expressing skepticism are least likely to vote. But I know some people who I know are regular voters also raise the same questions. And this is what I want to say in response. The question was, what has Kamala Harris done for us? And many people were very forceful in their declaration that she's done nothing. And I want to give everyone a perspective from which to think about her significance. Kamala Harris is amongst the most significant vice presidents to ever serve in office for the following reason. In the initial 2 years of her election, the Senate was split 50-50. You had a 50-50 split between Democrats and Republicans, and that meant that Kamala Harris actually cast the tie-breaking vote in a number of legislative toss-ups. The Inflation Reduction Act would be an example of this, where you had a 50-50 split in which Democrats had voiced their support for an funding package that by historical standards was almost unprecedented, we'll say. The real high water mark of federal spending. Republicans were foursquare against it. Democrats were in support of it. It did, amongst other things, extended the unemployment benefits that so many people depended on during the beginning of the pandemic, and other types of monies as well. And without her vote, that legislation would have never passed. We'd have been unlikely to get many of the additional, for lack of a better word, welfare support programs that were necessary for us to get through the pandemic. In addition, monies to administer the vaccination program, for other kind of health, public health supplements like free masks, amongst other things. These were made available as a direct consequence of Vice President Harris's vote. And had she not been there in office, then we wouldn't have had that legislation. And that's one way that I think people should think about her record thus far, and why she's actually done far more in support of the recovery process as a whole, and in particular, the kind of social programs that were a direct benefit to more economically hard-hit communities.
I just want to I want to say to everybody, there will be a lot of misinformation. There will be a lot of outright lies. Um, we have to be educated voters. So don't take everything you hear verbatim. Take the time to do your own homework. And then hopefully you'll make an educated decision at the polling place. Um, Also wanted to shout out the situation that happened to the young lady Sonia Massey. Um,
Oh man, yeah.
Today is actually a national day of mourning for her. They're having a rally. They had a rally earlier in New York City in the Washington Square Park area. Um, that was just outright murder. Like that was just outright murder. I still couldn't bring myself to watch the full video when they posted it. Um, I didn't think it was a good idea for me to do that just before the show because,
Right.
I, but I am going to watch it. But I definitely want to shout her out. And I wanted to say July has been a deadly month for Black women. July 2016, 6 Black women died in police custody, starting most famously Sandra Bland, and lastly with Mount Vernon's Raynette Turner, who died in Mount Vernon Police Department, police custody. So July is their 6 sisters lost their lives that year in police custody, and here we are again, and you know,
Right. I didn't view the tape either, AJ, because in some respects I wanted to spare myself of the horror of watching another innocent Black person gunned down by a out of control police officer. But I understand that it was a heinous, egregious act, and it should be very obvious to everyone that we're not going to be able to constrain, reduce, even eliminate these kind of acts unless we have more forceful legislation. And this does return me back to the original point that I was making about what we have at stake in the upcoming election. In the discussion of the President Trump's likely legislative agenda for the next, should he prevail, there's been a lot of focus on the so-called Project 2025. And having perused it, I can tell everyone that one of the provisions Project 2025 is calling for is the elimination of consent decrees that would give the federal government authority to systematically review police, monitor the practices that municipal police departments like the one that at which the deputy sheriff served, who eventually killed the sister over the past week. That's something else for people to consider. I think these things are related when we begin to take time to connect the dots. And so I think there's a lot at stake as Democrat support, no matter how tepid some people might find it, Democratic support of national police reforms is something that's on the table, whereas Republican, it is entirely absent from their upcoming legislative agenda.
So for those that don't know, and just in closing on that, Sonia Massey, 36-year-old Black woman, was shot and killed in her home by Deputy Sean Grayson of the Sangamon County Sheriff's Department in Woodside Township near Springville, Massachusetts. She placed a 911 call in reference to a possible prowler on her property, and she was murdered in her home by the officer. I'm going to speak much more about that later. We're going to have a whole bunch of stuff, but I just wanted to shout out today. They had the National Day of mourning for her at a rally this afternoon in Washington Square Park. Um, Moving forward, so I was in the hospital. I didn't really share this with a lot of people. I'm not going to get into a whole lot of details, but I was in the hospital. While I was in the hospital, someone sent Damon a video of the mayor of Mamaroneck making some claims of corruption. So Damon posted it and shared it, and my phone blew the hell up. First from Rich Nightingale from West Hab, several other people saying that what was in the video was not true or one-sided, and I invited a couple of Mamaroneck trustees to come on today to discuss it. I'm going to play the video real quick so we can see it. And one of our first trustees is here, our sister Leilani. We're going to have her speak on it on the other end. Well, let me welcome her to this. Hello, Miss. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
How are you? How are you?
Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. So I'm going to play a piece of the video, and then we're going to discuss it on the other end so everyone knows what we're talking about. And we invited Manny, and we invited Lou, and we also invited Rich Nightingale, who I haven't heard from, to see if he wanted to come on later. Here we go.
So over the last year, many residents have stood at that podium and questioned the speed with which the Hunter Tier Lot affordable housing development was moving. In particular, when you compare it to other priorities, it seems to have moved pretty fast. Residents have asked for a slower, more transparent process. They have asked many fair and reasonable questions for which there have been few answers. While I acknowledge that housing affordability is a major problem for all communities across this state and country, I do believe that it is our responsibility as elected officials to look at ways we can legally impact the housing concerns through multiple paths and strategies. I've also questioned the process that we either did or did not follow. I've questioned why we've been so set to give away this property and why one particular developer appeared to be favored. In the last meeting, the board unanimously agreed to allow the village attorney to start negotiating with both developers. Since that time, information has come to light. To me, directly, it did not come to the entire board. And if I had this information sooner, I would not have voted at that time, and I might have asked for the RFP to be avoided or insisted that no negotiations begin. Since that meeting, I've learned some disturbing information about the particular proposal that warrants additional investigation and at the very least appears to be unethical. I'm going to share just a piece of what I have out of respect for the crowd so that we can move a little bit more quickly. So I'm going to paraphrase. In July of 2021, Hunter Tier with village officials took a tour of our municipal parking lots, and they came back with an email that said, the Hunter Tier parking lot is far and away the #1 choice. And then they went on to describe their thoughts on the other sites. They also asked the question about whether or not they could put someone forward to fill a planning board spot. There were emails back and forth from July of 2021 till today. In January of 2022, an RFP draft was submitted to West Hab for technical assistance. By the time we got the actual RFP in 2023, there had been several changes. One of them was a quote, which I'm not going to be able to quote correctly right now, but it basically says that heavier weight will be given to an affordable housing developer who has worked in the village of Mamaroneck. We only have one. Another one was that there had originally been a request to put government offices in, I believe, to move us out of the regatta space and into a new space. That was removed. An item that said increase public parking was changed to provide public parking. So that's just a quick example. I'm going to skip through to a few other emails. West Hab was in an email where they where they and our prior village manager made the comments, want to keep the momentum going here so we can make our vision a reality. We want to make this work and don't want time to run out on the mayor's time in office. In 2022, there was an email that said, hope we can look to any new trustees to support our mission. There were a number of follow-ups from that January draft RFP. And even when they didn't get a response, they continued to ask us if we wanted any more help on it. There were reviews of RFPs that were much more detailed. None of them were used. In July of 2022, our village manager sent emails out saying, if you don't know, the BOT will be changing 2 members this cycle. We need to be ready for more receptive BOT right out of the gate.
So that's a piece of the video. That you can see the whole.
I'm gonna. I gotta plug in my computer. Hold on.
Oh, no problem. So so we you can go to blackwestchester.com. I put the link in the comment section. And you can see the whole video in its entirety. It was over 7 minutes. I didn't want to spend all that time. But so my phone blows up first from Rich Nightingale of West Hab, who felt that it was one-sided. Started blowing up. Some people said there was outright lies in the whole thing, that she just was carrying water for a group of people who do not want affordable housing. And some people even criticized Black Westchester. How could we post that? I mean, you had a mayor of a municipality alleging corruption, and that's all that Damon wrote, that she alleged corruption. So anyway, to get to the bottom of it, as always do, we have 2 of our trustees, a friend of the show, Leilani Yaza Reed, who I definitely gave her flowers in my book, Black Westchester Celebrates Black Women of Westchester, as the first African-American woman trustee of Mamaroneck, and Manny Rawlins, who we had both of them on the show along with Lou Young when they were running for office. Lou said he may come in later as well, and I did extend an invitation to Rich Nightingale. So the major complaint was that what the mayor said in her video was one-sided, and some people called it outright lies. So to get to the truth of it, I definitely wanted to. Manny's one of the people that reached out to me, and I wanted to give them an opportunity to speak on it, so we can get to the bottom of this. Welcome to the show, Manny and Leilani.
Thank you. So
Thank you.
First, because there is some forms of litigation happening right now, we are not able to talk about what the video, what the mayor said, in terms of the allegations that she stated in her letter. There's a lot going on in the overall scheme of things, of the whole process of trying to produce, build, or attempt to put up affordable housing in our community. This is something that's been going on affordable housing has been going on way before I was alive. But in the village of Mamaroneck, I know residents had been advocating for affordable housing again before I was born. That's why you have an entity like Washingtonville Housing Alliance that started a long time ago, so that it can provide spaces for people who weren't able to afford to stay and live there. And now we're coming into 2020. I guess the issue or the topic of affordable housing came into our village board again. It may have come in the past, but to us who are on the board present day, it started last year. This is a conversation that started last year. This is also something that we spoke about in our campaign, as much as maybe some people don't remember that we did speak about it, but we did talk about the need for affordability in our community. Did we say exactly affordable housing? I mean, however you want to paint it, sometimes people need to picture or paint like affordable housing in different words, but it is what it is. Housing is not affordable, period, anywhere. So I don't know, Manny, if you want to say anything.
No, I think you hit every kind of topic. This is something that, as us in the seat, have been discussing for more than a year, but it has been discussed in some capacity or some aspect within our community. I just think now that we are in the seat and that we were advocating fiercely for the Village of Mamaroneck to kind of go the route of developing their own affordable housing, it's seen as something that, seen as something that we're going to benefit directly from, which is not the case. And I just think that we want to be able to put those kind of those things that are said in the public to rest, because I feel a lot of it is we are kind of being the target of we're going to benefit from this in some way or somehow from affordable housing. They're misconstruing some of Leilani's words that happened in a board meeting. They misconstrue some things I've said. So I just think it's something we've ran on in our campaign. We discussed it and it was called many different things, of affordable housing or affordability or workforce housing, so it's something we've been discussing. Yeah, mixed use. We've called it. We've used it in many different ways. I just think people are, trying to say that this is new, that this is something new that we wanted to discuss or new we wanted to push for, which is not the case. It's something when we started running in 2022, we discussed it throughout our campaign, and on the board, when we got to the seat, we just wanted to fulfill and figure out what the avenue, what that looks like to increase affordability within our community.
I know you said you can't speak to so many things that was said, but the phone calls we got
was the phone calls from us?
Well, phone calls. I got message from Manny. I got message from Rich Nightingale. But going by what the mayor said, and that's all we had to go by at the time was the video. She says she's not against affordable housing. She's against the process of what they improperly did with the RFP. And I wanted to get to the bottom of that.
And as I even explained before, that because this is something that our lawyers are looking into, I do not want to comment on anything so that I don't become incriminated on something I said or did not say. We can talk about the process that has been going on, the journey, the blockage, the everything that has been going on since last year. We can talk about that. But the particular video that Black Westchester decided to upload and to do an article on, yes, there could be, if it was a concern of mine, is that this is a story that has been happening since last year. Mm-hmm. That even if people were paying attention, and not everybody has to pay attention to the Village of Mamaroneck politics, but if you were paying attention to any type of housing, true affordable housing that should be coming up in different municipalities. But if you paid attention to our particular Village of Mamaroneck politics when it came down to this particular subject, it almost, if not verbatim, mimics some of the comments, some of the rhetoric that happened in Yonkers all those years ago, decades ago. But people haven't been paying attention because it's Village of Mamaroneck. Something that when I first ran, people didn't think that Black people lived in Mamaroneck. So they don't pay attention to Mamaroneck as somewhere that Black people live. So it's not something to pay attention to.
I want to piggyback on the point that you're making, Leilani, just to set up for our audience the stake that I think not just residents of Mamaroneck have, but the entire Westchester County, insofar it pertains to the issue of affordable housing, which has been at the top of our agenda. And, I was curious to see what the demographic makeup of Mamaroneck was. And I think it's important for our viewers to know, as you said, even though our stereotype of Mamaroneck is that it is a all-white preserve, that's in fact not the case. 32%.
And never has, and really hasn't ever been.
And I say that because for those of us who may live in some of the bigger cities in Westchester, despite being, persons of color, Black people, we often are operating under misconceptions about what the social landscape is. So it's important for people to note that 38% of residents of Mamaroneck are non-white, number one. And number two, and this goes to the question of affordability, that 41% of residents of Mamaroneck make $50,000 or less. And I think that fact really, and this is all taken from the census report. If anyone wants, they could take a look at it themselves. But that really does underscore the need for us to grapple with the affordability crisis and make sure that it's not only something that's being addressed in the larger cities where you have Black strongholds in Westchester, but also some of our sister cities where, you know, people of all different racial, ethnic backgrounds are struggling also to try to find affordable housing. So I just wanted to begin with that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, we do our numbers in terms of in regarding, I would say, if we're talking about the Black community, the numbers of the Black community have dwindled over the years. I think right now, correct me if I'm wrong, Manny, if we're like 8%, something like that.
I think we're in that realm, and I think that just speaks to why this is a bigger crisis of it is no longer affordable. So we're pushing a certain demographic out of the village of Mamaroneck. And it's happening in other cities across Westchester. And I think that just speaks to why it's important. Because one of the things we get told all the time of what it makes Mamaroneck such an amazing place to live is the diversity. But if we don't have affordable places for some of these people to increase our diversity or maintain our diversity, we're going to lose that piece that so many people love about the village of Mamaroneck.
Right. And for me, I'm about the 6th generation in Mamaroneck of my family. So there've been Black, and Manny, what, you're like the 3rd, 4th?
I think I'm 4th or 5th generation in the village.
So there have been Black people living in Mamaroneck. What the real issue is that while what Manny just said, while we want to maintain our integrity with our diversity, we lack how to do it. And as 2 members on the board who represent or who identify as Black, we struggle to even have an existence, a respected existence at that. And so that is why there is when you take a clip and not show the progression of how we've gotten here to this point, but we take a clip and not show the long journey towards it. Because that's what if there was that in essence is what we're trying to grapple with or trying to help people understand. You can't take a bit of information and make that the whole story.
So let me just, as far as Black Westchester is concerned again, it was a public meeting. The mayor made a claim. The video was shared with Damon. Damon ran the thing. He didn't do a story on it. He ran the story. He ran the video that she made claims of alleged corruption, and we were going to follow up with everybody else. But that has been done various times through various municipalities when a high-ranking elected official does a video. Now, this wasn't a bit of a video that we edited. This was a public forum that he spoke. So he commented. He didn't really comment. He just posted what she said in the video. There was no commentary from Black Westchester saying that anybody was this or that or this, that. That's all it was. Another friend of the show is just joined us, Mr. Lou Young. Welcome to the show.
Look at Lou.
Welcome to the show. I know he wanted to say a couple of words, so I definitely wanted to give him an opportunity. And Lou is one of the people that called me personally.
And Lou is one of our trustees. Right.
Yes. And our relationship goes back to when he was at CBS? Was CBS?
CBS and before that, and ABC before that.
Right. So we've known each other since back then. So, Lou, what would you like to add to this discussion?
Well, what the mayor said was stringing together a bunch of emails that had been exchanged between staff members and one of the applicants for the affordable housing project prior to the issuance of the RFP. The RFP was written. The RFP said what it said. The RFP was vague by all accounts. I mean, it was vague, and it was vague intentionally because so we wanted people to use their imagination in making the application. So the idea that it was constructed for one particular applicant seems a bit of a stretch. Yes, I'm sure that this applicant was trying to make their best case. I'm sure that they were exchanging emails with the staff, but the staff wrote the RFP, and the Board of Trustees saw it, approved it, and voted on it. The idea that somebody who had done work with affordable housing previously in Mamaroneck would be given a preference didn't seem to me as a trustee to be unusual. And despite what the folks, what the mayor and other folks who are critical of the Affordable Housing Initiative said, it was not. They're not the only people who ever did affordable housing or those type of projects in the city before, in the village before. So other people could have applied. They did not. I think it's a bit of a stretch to say that we were trying to get just one applicant in there. And the fact is, at this point, we have two applicants, and I don't buy it. I think I think this narrative, which was written and constructed and developed by people who are opposed to affordable housing, and was written, I believe, for the mayor, for her to say, is disingenuous. And the thing that caught my attention was that when she started talking about it, and she said it in executive session, and then she said it later, I believe she said it later in public, that if I had known what I know now, I would not have voted to go forward with the negotiations on the project. And something bothered me then, and then I realized she did not vote to proceed with the negotiations with the two applicants. She had abstained. And either she didn't remember that, or she read somebody else's line by mistake when she read it. This is a coordinated attempt to derail affordable housing, I believe, and I think it's spurious. I think it doesn't hold water. I think ultimately there will be no finding of corruption. What corruption? Is money changed hands? Is somebody getting something? No, there's no indication of that. And the fact that these same people who have attacked the project have attacked myself, attacked Lalani, and attacked Manny with, I believe, are thin and politically motivated ethics complaints, all aimed at this project, trying to disenfranchise the people who elected us, and we ran on affordable housing as a plank in our campaign. We all said it very clearly. So I think when the mayor said, if I had known what I know now, I wouldn't have voted for it. And then when you look at the record and you see that she didn't vote for it, either she forgot or she read Nora Lucas's line, who voted for it with the three of us, because it was a 4-0 vote with the mayor abstaining. So that's suspicious to me. And fine. If they want to do an investigation, they can do an investigation. They can do whatever they want. I don't think there's anything there, and I think we proceed with the negotiations, and we try to move toward affordable housing in Mamaroneck because that's what we need. In addition, that parking facility has serious safety problems and may have to be closed anyway. So this is politics. This is politics, AJ, and politics, Damon, and what you saw there and that video. And I don't fault Damon for running that video. I really don't. But I didn't like the headline, alleged corruption. She implied corruption. There's no alleged corruption. There's nothing there that she's alleged. That.
Well, I mean, that's just between alleges and implies are basically the same thing. So
alleges saying that she's saying that money. You would allege that something specific happened. she's implying something shady is going on. And
but that's not the same thing, Lou.
No, it's an innuendo. An innuendo versus an actual charge. An allegation says, I'm saying that you took money and you are in bed with these people and blah, blah, blah. That would be an allegation.
Then she was implying that these things were happening.
Implying that something hinky was going on. And the people that she's leveled these charges against are the former mayor, Tom Murphy, who is a very progressive, was a very progressive mayor, and who had made some enemies in 3 terms because of that, and the former village manager Jerry Barbiero, who's no longer with us, and I think was a very good village manager, and the late Dan Sarnoff, his assistant, who had the key email exchange with West Tab about the wording in the RFP. So the allegations really are against those 3 people who are no longer with the village. I think it's got to be kept in context. And
so real quick,
because this is
wait, Bob, wait. There's a difference between me alleging something and criminal allegations. Those are different things. Alleging just means when you say something, when something is said to be true but hasn't been proved.
All right.
You allege it. So it's the same thing as imply. But Bob, I know Bob wanted to chime in here. So Bob, go ahead.
Listen. I've been on the wrong end of many headlines that were written about my story. I get it. I'm not gonna fight that battle. I just want to put this in context that it's not as big a deal. It's a good story, and I'm glad you're addressing it. But I just want to make it clear what it is and what it isn't. That's all.
Bob?
Okay, yeah.
So that is Lou's opinion of what it is and what it isn't.
We understand.
Okay.
And the reason why I want to be very clear about that, because I am not trying to speak on something that has not been clear in the public yet. While I agree there were a lot of things implied, there have been a lot of things implied, there have been allegations since last year. So this is not the one and only thing.
No, I mean
that's why we got here.
And the weaponization of the ethics commission by political activists.
It's every committee. It's not just the ethics committee, but they use the people use committees to push agendas. And for one, and again, could it be the ethics committee? It could be. We have received, I know I've received several, about 2 or 3 ethics complaints since I've been in office.
All right.
Question.
Yeah. So, look, the administration and proper handling, responsible management of the public funds has been a persistent issue that has plagued municipal, state, and national politics. And it is the abuse of the public money that often leads to the discrediting of the very kind of programs that are at issue here today. Mm-hmm. These are programs that Black people, because of our historic disadvantage that we've suffered, we have proportionally benefited from, but not exclusively. This also includes many other sectors of the American public. So to insist that money be properly handled is, to me, not beyond the pale, and should be one of the central focuses of elected officials as well as concerned members of the public.
Absolutely.
Having said that, I have to say, Lou, we've never had the pleasure of meeting before. It's a pleasure to meet you. I hope that we continue these type of dialogues. But I have to say, Lou, you know, your presentation of this matter, as if concerns about how the RFP was written are baseless, to me seems at odds, at least with the description that the mayor provided for us of West Hab officials engaging in and effectively writing the terms of the RFP. That is what is at issue. One moment, please. That's what is the issue here. Is that true or false? And I will tell you that everything I know, and it's limited, but it's not like I don't try to involve myself in municipal affairs just a little bit, is that it is considered to be a conflict of interest for a potential beneficiary of a program who is going to compete for grant monies to have any substantive input whatsoever in the writing of the RFP. And to me, that is really what is at issue here. If West Hab did engage in exchanges with elected officials or appointed officials in Mamaroneck that allowed them to specify the terms of the RFP, that on its face raises very troubling concerns about the conflict of interest. And I will add that this is more than just a passing matter, because one of the things that's supposed to ensure that our money is responsibly managed is that we have an open competitive process. If you have two contractors who are submitting bids for a multi-million-dollar development, that hardly meets our conception of what robust competition is.
Can I ask a question? When other communities are building affordable housing, are they doing it 100% affordable housing, or are they literally looking at possibly 10% or any type of development? 10% of of their units are going to be affordable at 80% or maybe 70% AMI.
There's been a throughout Westchester County, this has been an issue in very many municipalities. Secondly,
what issue? The issue that you were discussing in terms of
what you just asked about what the percentage is going to be.
Yes.
Secondly, back when Astorino was the CE, there was the HUD lawsuit because there was supposed to be a certain amount of affordable housing throughout Westchester and all the municipalities. And a lot of the municipalities didn't want it in there, and they were pushing their poor to places like Mount Vernon, which has been the dumping ground. And they've been building buildings and pricing people out of their communities. And that's going on throughout all of Westchester.
So at the time, Mamaroneck wasn't named in that lawsuit because it had an entity like Washingtonville Housing Alliance, and that at the time they had affordable housing, but those apartment buildings or those entities had the affordability piece had expired. So now you have market rate.
Let me step in here, Leilani, because that lawsuit was against the county.
No, I said against the county. When Astorino, I specifically said when Astorino was
said that.
The county, it wasn't against it, and the county decided to put those units in communities that did not have certain levels of diversity. And Mamaroneck had those levels of diversity, so we were not included. It didn't mean that we had all the affordable housing we needed. It meant that for that particular lawsuit, we were not included. So there was no quota. There was no nothing involving us. We just weren't required to.
No, I wasn't even talking about Mamaroneck. I was just talking about affordable housing has been an issue in Westchester in general, going back to that and all those other communities that didn't want it in their community. Astorino ended up saying before he lost the election, he had over the amount of affordable housing that HUD required, but it wasn't distributed through the communities the way it was. Most of it was in Mount Vernon, New Rochelle, and Yonkers or something. You know what I'm saying? And that became a dumping ground for Mount Vernon. That's all I was saying. And that's separate from this situation. I'm saying this affordable housing has been an issue in Westchester forever. That's all I'm saying.
And I wouldn't use the term dumping ground because that denigrates affordable housing. Affordable housing is positive.
No. I live in Mount Vernon. Mount Vernon has been a dumping ground for other communities who have pushed their poor and outpriced their poor in those communities. And one of the few places they can afford to live is Mount Vernon. So Mount Vernon has become the dumping ground that I can talk to you all day about, but we're not here to talk about Mount Vernon. But Mount Vernon has been a dumping ground for the rest of the county. Go ahead, Bob.
I was going to just add, just to give a little further context so we're clear. It doesn't necessarily, AJ wasn't necessarily saying that it's a dumping ground for other Westchester municipalities. Perhaps the most egregious example of the use of Mount Vernon as a dumping ground was by New York City recently, when it began to give people who were either in homeless shelters or otherwise didn't have a permanent resident money to move to the city of Mount Vernon. And this has been documented in some of the New York City papers. But I want to go back to the issue that you raised, Lilani, because I want to be clear. My impression is that the model that's used today is for most housing developments to be mixed use, and that the overwhelming number of apartments may be offered at fair market rate, but in order to also fulfill the requirement that we diversify our housing stock and ensure that there is affordable housing for a certain segment of the market, that a smaller percentage will be have affordable rates. So I know in some of the recent housing developments that have gone up in Mount Vernon, it might be, my sense is like about an 80-20 mix is not unusual.
So if we're going back to the process and the RFP and what was asked from the board, I believe at the time, was that it to be all affordable.
Yes.
All affordable. And
yes.
That's what is so different about this particular proposal, this particular development. It was all affordable. I'm not asking for market rate. We have plenty of that in our community. That has been developed in the last decade. We're asking for it to be all affordable at a tiered AMI.
And I think that's what the biggest challenge. Sorry,
and that is the biggest challenge. I'm sorry, Manny, but that has been the biggest challenge when it comes down to developers wanting to do that, willing to do that, and what kind of incentives will they be provided to get it done? So is that is it possibly the real difficulty to find developers to actually do that?
I think that's the biggest challenge that we're dealing with. I think we came in, like you mentioned, other municipalities that are building, affordable housing. They're doing it with a mixed use, which is going to be 80% of the units are market rate and 20% are affordable. And that could be, if that's a building that has 10 units, that means 2 of those units are affordable. That's not increasing the stock of affordable housing across our county. And I think we came with something unique where we wanted something that is all affordable, but at a scale of multiple AMIs, as low as 30% AMI all the way up to 80. And I think that's the challenge, and that's the pushback we're getting at is, sure, like we know affordable housing is important, but we don't want it to be all affordable. We don't want it to be in that way. And that's what we're pushing for. We need it to be all affordable, because that's how you really truly increase the stock. The incentives that a lot of municipalities have, which for developers to come in and they get a kickback or they get something where 10%, they have every unit. I think in the village of Mamaroneck, I think we have something that I initiated on the board. I think, or when I got on the board, I think it's either every new development has to have at least 10% or 1 unit that's all affordable. So a lot of them are just, so sure, the number may be going up, but adding 1 unit and then adding 12 market rate is not going to help anybody or help maintain any type of diversity. So I think what we're doing is unique to other municipalities that claim that they want to increase affordable housing. They believe in it. They know it's important, but we're trying to address the true crisis of making something that's all affordable. And I just think that is the key of what we are trying to do in the village. And I think that's why it's increasing so much pushback of doing that, because it's not something that everybody else is doing. We're doing something above and beyond everything that's happening in our county. We can't keep talking about how this is an issue and it's a crisis, but then when it comes to actually doing the work behind it to get something done, then it's like, no, we don't want that. And it's like that can't be the case. We have to if we really want to step up and address this, the only way to do it is at all affordable. And I think a lot of this, what people also need to understand is, say something like this does go through, this is something that's not going to be in effect people in the building for 5 to 7 years from now. We have no idea what our community is going to be look like. This isn't adding, any number of units years, there's still an entire other process that needs to go on. And I think we have to understand that this isn't immediately help the situation, but at least it's going to help the situation in an X number of years.
So is West Hap is working with y'all to do this totally affordable housing?
Right now there are two developers, and I think it's one of the two developers.
I asked because West Hap is the first people that reached out to me. So go ahead.
Yeah, I think there are two developers who've submitted RFPs. I believe when we had when our village staff had a site visit, there were more people who showed up to understand the site and were interested in doing it. Ultimately, that led to two people submitting a package or an RFP, responding to our RFP. And the two people are West Hab and Luna. We have clearly stated, and it's been very clear that we want to go what's best for our village. We understand the needs of flood mitigation is really important. We understand the needs that we'd be losing a piece of our municipal lot. We understand those things, and that's why we are at the moment of following the process of making sure that when we negotiate or when we have these discussions, we're going to try to get the best deal for the village of Mamaroneck. We're not just picking one or over the other because we think the one seems better or cooler than the other. No, we want to pick whatever is best. Who's going to give us the most parking lot? Who's going to have the most flood mitigation measure for their building? Who's going to mesh within our community to make it seem to kind of flow in? And I think that's what we are. At least for myself, I'm analyzing when I'm having these discussions or in board meetings. We want the best deal for the village.
I would also say, because I know I said this on record in a board meeting, is that I would go for West Hab because they were out of the two, they were less invasive when it came down to space. They were also willing to go with the all affordability that we were requesting. The other developer, I say the name Luna, but I can't remember the entity's name. The Luna developers, they were looking for mixed use, some of the units to be at market rate. That is not what I'm looking for. So why would I choose something where I am tunnel vision, yes, when it comes down to it being all affordable. I didn't like the aesthetics of West Hab. I didn't like how it looked. I didn't like, there were some things that I did not like, but when it came to that all affordability piece, that is what what was most important to me when I said I would choose West Hab. But then we came back after executive session and said we're going to then look at both, go into negotiations with both, which is fair. Go into negotiations with both to see who is at the end is going to provide us again with the best option, so then that we can continue the journey of the process of SECRA, of making sure that it can actually get built. Just because we are in favor of affordable housing doesn't mean that it's actually going to get built, because if the government and SECRA says no, we can't move forward.
And I'll tell you this too: the opponents of this, there are two groups. One group is a group that wants to stop all multifamily housing, period. They don't want any development in the village. They want to cut back. They want it to be, the bedroom community that it used to be, and that's it. Then there's the other group that doesn't want affordable housing. They're afraid of it because I don't know. You can draw your own conclusions. They just don't want people. Whether they say if you can't afford to live here, you shouldn't live here. I mean, that's pretty much what they're saying. And pretty much nobody who is an affluent or rich can afford to move to America.
Well, I don't know where Lou went, but in all fairness, some of the individuals who do not want housing, they don't want any more development, is because of our flooding issue in Mamaroneck. So that is all fairness. There are some people who truly do not want more development because of the amount of flooding that we do get.
Bob,
so that is understandable too.
Go ahead, Bob.
So I was going to say that I was slightly concerned about reports that the RFP may have been rewritten in such a way that it would have given West Hab a competitive advantage, might have put the scale on the thumb. And I want to say something, because the issue of the RFP is not only to be considered from the standpoint of the impact that it has on consumers of housing. The issue also has to do with creating a level playing field between experienced developers that have a reputation that allows them ready access to new construction opportunities versus new entrants into the market, often BIPOC firms that are having extreme difficulty getting a toehold into the real estate development market, even though many of the sites that they're going to construct will benefit people who are from more marginal communities. And this has been an historic problem that I know some recent ethics provisions that have been adopted for grants have sought to address. For example, in a lot of the environmental grant opportunities that have come down, they've been specifically designed in such a way to make sure that newer entrants, including those led by firms of color, have a fair shot to compete. It seems to me like to put a provision that would only allow a developer that already developed in Mamaroneck, or give them favoritism. I mean, that's very clear what the likely impact will be.
That's not what it said. I mean, it said preference to, and
preference. A preference means that you get a point. If it's a competitively, if it's a pointed grant and a person gets 10 points for being an experienced developer in that area, those 10 points could ultimately give you the advantage. And we have to acknowledge that that is one possible impact. I'm not saying it's the only one, Lou, and there may be good reasons.
No, and I get it, because that's something that I see across the board, not just with housing, but any type of construction work or any type of bids that do go out, and new people, what entity do they go for first? I see that everywhere. I understand what you're saying.
Right.
I understand what you're saying, but I guess what we're trying, at least myself, is trying to emphasize is that there has been a process that has been happening. Within the process, there has been on the I can't speak to the administrative side because I'm not a village manager and I don't work for the village on that end. But as a politician, the negativity that has come around this affordable housing topic is sometimes you can have a conversation around why you don't or why you want something, but the blockage that happens on a municipal level is beyond me, and that beyond even affordable housing. Anytime somebody wants to block something in a government,
right,
that process, and that's what, it's not that damn hard to get something done. But when you don't want something to be done, you will go hell and high water to make sure it happens. And it happens on hold on, Lou, and it happens on multiple levels.
Understood.
To expand on what Leilani just said, these proposals were supposed to have been presented to us initially in January. There was a concerted, organized effort to shut down that meeting, and they successfully did it. And I believe it was illegal and it was coordinated. Same people, same opponents. They pushed it off, and all we managed to do was to get negotiations rolling. Now that we have negotiations rolling, we will find out what the proposals are. And if we walk away from them, we walk away from them. But these folks didn't even want to know what the proposals were because they didn't care what they were, because they just didn't want it to happen. That's what I'm trying to get through to you, Damon, that all this...
Damon's
sorry, Lou.
Damon's not here today. Damon's coming later. That's Dr. Bob.
Yes, and I'm sorry, Lou. We're only meeting for the first time, man. It's okay.
I'm trying to get through to any of you that these are all just delay tactics, because affordable housing projects don't die on straight up and down votes. They die by delay, and they keep delaying it and delaying it and delaying it, and then it just goes away. That's how they die. When they pass, when they get voted on up and down, they usually pass, and usually the controversy goes away as soon as they're built, because nobody remembers what all the hubbub was about. This is part of a nationwide concerted effort against affordable housing, and it may be hard to see on these individual moments, like what the mayor brought up at that meeting a couple of weeks ago, but it's designed to delay. And all I'm saying is that we may not do it. We may do it, but we're going to vote on it up and down, and we're going to know what the proposals are. And that's why they're so upset. That's why they're so upset that the negotiations have begun, because now we'll find out what's on the table. All right?
So it sounds to me that all of you are concerned that many of the objections that have been raised against this proposed construction development are a pretext to stop affordable.
I wouldn't say every single person that has come up and rejected it. I wouldn't say, but there is a good number of people who, you know, it is
fear.
It is fear. It is a lot. Thank you, Lou. It is a lot of fear, and fear, you know, as a Black person in community, people fear us just by standing, just by being, right? And so when you hear things like, we don't want those people in the community, or those people are going to bring filth, trash, you know, and one of the biggest fears is that somebody who may live elsewhere in the Bronx or Mount Vernon or Yonkers, some other place in the county where they live, they can now move to Mamaroneck, not even possibly comprehending that there are people who used to live in Mamaroneck who now had, like to your point, had to live in areas where the housing is the rent is lower, and maybe they want to come back to their hometown. We're not even thinking about on that side. Those are all the possibilities. Why can't somebody just want to live somewhere, and how come they can't have the ability to live somewhere?
I don't think it's ability. I think it's the opportunity.
Or the opportunity. Why is it so hard to look at somebody and say, you know what? I may not make as much as you, but you deserve everything because you work maybe as hard as me. It may be harder, but you should have the same opportunities that I have. It's just I make more. I could afford to live in a Sound Shore area where we have a harbor, and it's a beautiful space to live. It's a beautiful community to live, but we're not trying to give anybody a leg up. Mm-hmm. It's not a leg up type of thing. They have to pay rent. People have to pay rent. This is not a Section 8, or this is not like, it's not one of those. It's units that are affordable to any person who has a different type of job than maybe a person who works in a multi-million-dollar company or in making multi-million dollars.
And I would say that this project is probably on the affordable housing level is the least we can do, and we're getting pushback. This is not a big deal. This is the least we can do, and folks are, you know, lighting torches and grabbing pitchforks to stop it. That should be alarming, and they've raised all sorts of issues. This alleged this allegation with these emails is another attempt just to delay it and stop it. That's all it is. My opinion.
Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, I have a question. So I'd like to know whether, so you said that the original proposal called for this to be an 100% affordable housing construction.
That's what the RFP says, yes.
So, and that is the requirement of the RFP that people have submitted bids for. That
Correct.
aspect of the RFP hasn't changed.
It hasn't.
Okay, I see. All right, I just wanted to be clear about that. I should say, because it does, and I thank you guys for coming on, because it certainly complicates my understanding of the forces that are at work here in stirring up this controversy. It doesn't seem like it's simply a matter.
Get off in a second, but I'll tell you this: now that the negotiations have started, whatever the RFP says is fine, but we may decide to go with something that does have a mix, or if that works out better, if it's a better deal for the village.
I will tell you, I ain't voting on it.
And we may not give preference to the people who've had experience before. So the idea that this RFP was so intentionally vague as to invite innovation that I think we may get, and I'm hoping we will get some innovation when they come back to us on August 12th.
And I also want to highlight the piece about the RFP, about how there seems to have been revisions. This is something that came to the board and ultimately we approved. We all sat there, we all looked at it. And the first time it came to us in a board meeting, we didn't even approve it then. We were like, well, we don't like some of these aspects. So we had the opportunity to say, oh, this is too vague. Let's add, let's make these changes. That didn't happen. And we asked for some minor changes. Those changes were made and it was presented to us again, and we ultimately approved. So if for this idea that it just was like, oh, the staff put together, they were colluding, or maybe they're working with this person, or this was happening, and it just went through. That's not what happened. It ultimately came to the board. It came in front of us. It was explained to us. We had questions. Our questions were answered. If we wanted changes, we made changes, and then it ultimately went out. Right. It wasn't this thing that our staff put together and we had no idea about it, and then it came to us and we were like, all right, this is a great idea. Our staff was it. This is something that we ultimately read, believed in, and wanted to be vague, like Lou said, because we wanted innovative ideas of how we could build in using that lot, to do affordable housing on that lot.
And I've had
but that RFP came out before the present mayor was mayor.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this. I know the other two, my two colleagues haven't had communication. We, the people who will vote on it, have had no communication, meaningful communication with either of these applicants. I haven't.
No, I haven't.
I haven't.
So what's the allegation? What's the allegation? The allegation is that some staff members were talking to them ahead of time. Yeah, you would expect that. You would expect it. All right. And especially if they were lobbying behind the scenes, I think you would expect it. I don't think there's any there's nothing here. It's a nothing burger, and I think we proceed and we let them do their little investigation. They'll probably spend tens of thousands of dollars of village money on it, and it'll go nowhere. And but what's not going to happen is we're not going to stop just because they made some innuendo statements. That's it. All right.
Right. So this is what we try to do. So the point is, this topic wasn't even being discussed. You talk about stuff had been going on for a year, and before that and all that was not on our radar, because most things that come to our radar are sent to us by people in that municipality. Sure. Of course, we are not day to day in Mamaroneck, like I'm not day to day in many other places. And most of the things we deal with are from the people in the municipality, or the elected officials, or the activists or advocates contacting us about issues. So this video came, Damon posted it, and now we're having this conversation. Before that, I'm sorry. Before that, we wouldn't even be having this conversation on a countywide basis.
I'm glad.
So whatever was going on would have just been going on. Now maybe some people have a better understanding of what's going on in Mamaroneck, and I do know from doing this, and especially dealing with people in Westchester, you got to, everything is like an onion. You got to keep peeling back layers and layers and layers to get anywhere near the truth. So I'm sure that this will not be the last of this. I'm sure that there will be updates. I'm looking to y'all to keep us informed on the process and how it's going, and if they're, so that we can continue updating the story.
So I want to say that this is something that has been caught Westchester's attention, because Channel 12 News did have a story on the meeting that Lou was talking about, our January meeting where they shut down the meeting. Channel 12 News was there. They saw, they reported on it. They reported on it, and
somebody contacted Channel 12 News, but no one contacted Black Westchester.
I understand.
Channel 12 News doesn't just show up.
After that, I did try to contact Black Westchester, and we talked about that, AJ, as to how Black Westchester wasn't actually available at the time to do it. But if somebody was willing to take notes, we did have this conversation, and I believe that Manny also reached out as well, unbeknownst to me at the time. So it's not that we did not reach out. It's just maybe that Black Westchester wasn't available to cover, or something may have happened, but the reaching out was done. And it could have been on both sides, but I don't want to end it as we didn't reach out to talk about this particular story of affordable housing in the village of Mamaroneck.
But I'm going to jump to AJ's defense here, because news is news.
No, it is, and I'm not blaming. I'm not doing that. Yeah. I'm just saying the process, the journey to there was.
I got
and maybe we could have reached out again, or because
on us. I got it. All right. Listen, AJ, I got and colleagues, I got to run. But
thank you. Give you any last words, Lou, and we're gonna wrap this up in a minute. Any last words on this topic? Or
okay, well, here is we're dealing with a concerted effort to stop affordable housing. That's what we're confronting in Mamaroneck. We are confronting a reactionary movement to stop affordable housing, to stop multifamily housing, to keep the others out. That's what we're addressing there, and that's all it is. That's what I believe it is. All right.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. That's it.
And Manny, any last words you want to? Anything that we didn't bring up, or anything you want to add to the conversation?
No, I think the one thing I would definitely want to add, or is just in closing, is that we are just trying to address, out of the many issues that our municipality has, we're trying to address one of them, and we are addressing all of them. I think a lot of people get confused and think when you have priorities, that means in government, that means you can only focus on one thing. That is not how government is supposed to function. I always try to give the example to people of what happened if our federal government realized, okay, affordable healthcare and healthcare is a problem. Let's only think about that, and that means everything else gets shelved. Infrastructure, housing, you can't function that way. You have to be able to look at multiple priorities and figure out how you can go through and address each of them. And that's exactly what we're doing in the Village of Mamaroneck. We are addressing issues with flood mitigation. We are addressing issues with pedestrian safety, and we are also trying to address the issue of affordable housing. We had a comp plan that we all voted on and we approved a year ago, which stated out of the three priorities of the village, which was flooding, pedestrian safety, and affordability, we are addressing each one of those issues. And I just think it's being put in this light that we're only talking about affordable housing, which is not the case. We talk about flooding every single meeting. We talk about pedestrian safety when we have updates in every single meeting. And we rarely have the conversation of affordable housing unless people are coming up and making comments about it. So I think we have to be honest when we're talking about this. We have priorities. We are a governing body of we're the trustees on this board who are addressing many issues within our community. We can't just hyper focus on one, because if the other ones fall through and we don't focus on them, then they don't happen and then they deteriorate even more. We have to be able to work on multiple different projects at one time, and that's all we're trying to do. And I think affordable housing is well worth it. I think it's something that's very important, because we can't claim and say we love diversity, but then when we want to be able to maintain or increase that diversity and give people the opportunity, and just say, no way, we can't do that. That's how we lose the beautiful things that we love within our community.
Bob, did you have any more questions before we Have Leilani close us out.
Well, for one, I wanted to thank you guys for coming on and sharing your perspective with us, because to be quite frank, it, at least for me, has helped to complicate my understanding of the various forces that have helped to, if you will, gin up even perhaps this controversy. Having said that, listen, because our legislators at various levels have to address multiple concerns, I want to tell you guys that even though I'm very receptive now to what you're saying, it's really I get what you're telling me is working at work here, but I want to say that in the end, our desire to do good does not negate our obligation to also ensure that we are operating according to best practices. I know that in this particular instance, the process has been followed. I'd urge you guys, when you are taking up ethics issues in the future, to consider including this in as a provision, if it's not already in your ethics rules, that, you know what, any potential bidders on grant opportunities should not be involved in the writing of RFPs, because that is the best recommended practice. And to be honest, it did raise eyebrows for me when at least that facet of the story was brought to my attention. But I see that, you know, it's maybe even more complicated than that. So I wanted to thank you guys for coming on and bringing this to our attention.
Any last words on the topic, Leilani?
I mean, I really appreciate the point of view that Black Westchester is coming from. I wholeheartedly, because that's what keeps people honest, right? And that keeps the process honest. And that's all personally, I know Manny does too, but that's all we want to do. I'm not here for the long run. I'm here to help people in the minute, in the time that I have left. You know, the time that God gives me. That's my purpose. And I am full on integrity. So anything that is outside of that is not of me. So I appreciate the candor, the openness to have this discussion about it. And there are many forces at play. There are many forces at play, and there's always going to be forces at play, and there still are. It's just having full understanding of what this looks like, what this journey has looked like for the both of us, even before we got elected, how we got to this point. And we could have another conversation on another day, but the journey to get to this point prior to getting elected. And I would, if I dare say, the minute that we said that we didn't want to be endorsed by the village Democrats,
Already
it from that moment. So it started from that moment. It was like game on. That's how been the process. And not to say there's wrongs or rights, or some parts weren't, like, I'm not saying every moment was an attack.
Right.
But it does raise eyebrows. It does raise caution. So
so let me say this, and I said this, and I had y'all on when y'all were running.
Yes,
I remember that.
And I did say this to you then. See, let me go back. When you talked about News 12 coming out, we don't got the investigative team and all of that to be sending out crews to different things throughout the Westchester. But this is what we do. And and even in that day when y'all were running, I offered an open door policy when there is issues in your municipality that need to be addressed, that this is a venue that y'all can speak through and utilize. So, we'll
have a different conversation.
Right. So
how this journey has taken.
Right, I want that to be clear, because I extended that invitation back then, and I told you, like, this is what we do. Like, people invite me to Port Chester and Peekskill every day, all day. I just can't be out there because we don't have teams to send out. Right. You know what I'm saying? But we're celebrating our 10-year anniversary. Actually, next week's show is the actual 10-year anniversary show. And
Happy anniversary.
Congratulations.
and we're putting out our 10-year commemorative issue of the newspaper on the 15th. So, but this is what we've been known for, bringing people together like this and having these discussions, this real talk for the community that don't normally happen. Like News 12 came out, but News 12 is not going to give you this time to have this detailed conversation from how many different angles. That's what made us different in what we do. So when again, I don't know the day-to-day in Mamaroneck. You know what I'm saying? I'm closer to Mount Vernon. I'm closer to New Rochelle and Yonkers, and I'm well informed what goes on there, and I still don't know the day-to-day what goes on there. You know what I'm saying? It comes from the people in that municipality, the advocates, the elected officials, the people fighting for the issues that come to us and bring it to us, and then we shine a light on it. You know what I'm saying? So that's what, Damon got the video, he shared it, and it sparked this conversation that obviously needed to be had. And that's
I get it. Let me tell you something. I get I understood. When I say understood, please understand what I'm saying. Understood the reasoning. What I think another topic that needs to be talked about is when new people who are not necessarily on the political trail or making this their one and only goal in life, when people are in political positions or elected officials new into this space, what does that look like? Because me reaching out, me sitting there going to different entities and then telling them what's going on, I honestly, and this could be another conversation, but I'll give you a snippet. I honestly wasn't in the mind frame to be doing all of that, because all I was doing is surviving the space. And where are we reaching out to people who are surviving spaces where they are not the majority? You mentioned before how where the Black officials are mostly, they're in Black communities, but there are some officials who are in not predominantly Black communities who are elected officials surviving spaces. And they don't always have the mentality. They also don't have the fortitude or the capacity, the bandwidth to be constantly reaching out.
I got that, and that's why I said even in those situations, we can shed light on some stuff that we can bring attention to topics that you can't. And as I said in a conversation on the phone, we're very protective of our Black elected officials in spaces like where you are. So when something happens, I need to know about it. So you know what I'm saying? So I can put pressure.
This ain't gonna be the last time you hear my voice.
Yeah, I can put pressure where pressure needs to be applied. That you know what I'm saying? That maybe you can't, because you're surviving that. You're trying to navigate and survive that space. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like an equalizer mentality. We equal the playing field, because most of the people who come to us are people who are being retaliated against by government and big people of power, and are being wrongfully, the people of power who are abusing their power, and whether that's police, government, or just people of power, period. And those are the things we started Black Westchester on. You know what I'm saying? So we've gone against everybody. And while you can't say certain things because you're navigating that space, be clear, Black Westchester has never backed down from any smoke and welcomes all smoke or all situations while people are not, you know what I'm saying, being treated properly. So I mean, that's what we stand on for the 10 years. That's what we've been doing. That's what we will continue to do. And Yeah. So that's what it is. And I wanted to be clear. And that's why I called you. I was like, I got a bone to pick with you. Why wasn't I hearing about this? That was my first words on the conversation.
It was, but you also know that I will back down for nothing.
I didn't hear about any of this before now. Like, if we never put the video up, I never would have been hearing about, like, well, you might not speak on it, but the personal attacks that you two have been dealing with. You understand what I'm saying? That people don't know. You know what I'm saying? That I could have shed some light on, keeping y'all out of the conversation. You only had to be here for me to do it. I just need the information. You understand what I'm saying? We're very protective of our own. So,
It's a full understanding.
That's what we do. And Black Westchester, while people call us the voice of the voiceless, we didn't create this to be the voice of the voiceless. We created this to give the voiceless a voice. You understand what I'm saying? So it's just like, people say, oh, that's AJ and Damon's joint. We created it so the community says that's our joint. You know what I'm saying? And until the community fully embraces that, there's going to be situations like this that falls through the crack that don't get talked about, and nobody else is going to talk about it.
Well, means.
Mm-hmm.
So, y'all, again, extending the open door policy. Y'all know how to reach me. There's some issues that need to be spoke on. There's some light that need to be shed. So I need to shine some light on some situations. I need to be calling people to be like, why is this and why is that? I just need to know. I just need the information. We don't back down from smoke, and we have receipts for everything that we do. So people come at us all the time, but we got the receipts.
Thank you.
No doubt. Appreciate y'all coming through.
Thank you, Dr. Bob.
Thank you, Dr. Bob. Thank you.
Yes, pleasure to talk with y'all. Absolutely. Keep us apprised of what's going on.
Absolutely.
Oh, wait, before you go, join me in wishing my brother, Dr. Bob, a happy, healthy, and blessed birthday tomorrow.
All right.
Happy solar return.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much.
And
I'm going to be out there with the telescope as soon as the sun rises.
And Damon K. Jones and Tasha Young birthday was yesterday.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Happy solar return to everyone.
Yeah.
Happy Leo season.
Bruh.
As only Aquarius in the group, I'm gonna boo. But okay, I hear y'all. Yeah, no.
I'm an Aquarius. I'm an Aquarius too. You don't worry, it's not just you.
Okay, February 5th. That's what. Yes,
I'm the 7th. I'm the 7th.
Okay. There you go. So but I wanted to put that out there. But listen, thank y'all for coming. Thank you for taking the time. Hopefully, when I put this on Black Westchester and I blast it out, it will help bring some more attention to the situation and eyeballs onto what need to be seen, and we will keep this conversation going.
Absolutely. Right. Thank you so much. Have a blessed night.
Peace and blessings. Good night. Yes. You are tuned into Black Westchester Presents the People Before Politics radio show, episode 404. 1 week away from next week. Next week is the official 10-year anniversary show of People Before Politics. Damon and I started the show August 3rd, 2014, and have been giving you that real talk for the community ever since. Also, for everybody watching live and everybody who will watch, we're about putting together the 10-year anniversary commemorative issue of the newspaper. There is plenty of time to advertise. People always say, oh, y'all do such great work. Oh, we need y'all in the community. Oh, how can I support? Well, this is your time that you can support. Contact us to put an ad in, make a donation, a contribution, help us celebrate 10 years of bringing y'all the news with the Black point of view so we can continue to bring it to you. Like I say at the end of every show at the bottom on the website, someday, and it might not be long, you're going to look for us and we're going to be gone because, there wasn't no support. People will be like, yo, what happened? We need a Black newspaper. We need a Black voice of media. Well, you got that. And the only way we continue to do this work is with your support. Thank you for all of those who have supported, because we couldn't have got this far without your support. Financial contributions, donations, and advertising. And that way we keep it free for the community, for the people who need to get the information, who the information normally doesn't trickle down to. We don't have a paywall on the website. You read a couple of articles, and now you got to pay so you can see the rest of them. The show is not behind a paywall. When we need to have people on, we don't charge them to come on the show. You know what I'm saying? So this is community media. We try to be community media at its best, but we can only exist with the support of the community. So I put that out there. Hit us, blackwestchester@gmail.com. Anybody listening, you know how to hit me personally on any social media, or blackwestchester@gmail.com. You got to get your ads in before August 5th for the 10-year anniversary commemorative issue. And Dr. Bob, we're not even gonna take it to 8. I don't know what Damon had to handle some stuff. You got anything else that you want to discuss, or
No, I just
anything else that's on your mind?
I just want to second your invitation to people to offer their support and, financial support of Black Westchester Magazine as one of the few independent Black media outfits doing serious reporting in Westchester County on behalf of the Black community. Needless to say, I think the last discussion that we had about affordable housing with Leilani, what was it? Damien is the brother's name? The other brother? And Manny.
Emmanuel, Manny, yeah.
And Lou. Listen, you just don't get comparable coverage anywhere, both the focus and depth. This is, Black Westchester, maybe the county press, and, are the only two outfits. And I want to urge everyone to, support Black Westchester Magazine. Although AJ and Damon are my dudes, I'm always working behind the scenes with them, even when y'all don't see me around a lot. I am going to be making a donation, a financial donation. It'll be modest. I mean, I'm a man of modest means, but that's how strongly I believe in the mission. And so I hope others will follow my example. Listen, and the size of the donation is less important than the donation be made. To relate it to national level issues, Vice President Kamala Harris had a history-making fundraising week, largely from small dollar donations. And we've got to get into the same habit. There may not be any of us who are bona fide philanthropists, except maybe some of our friends from Earn Your Leisure who could be philanthropists at this point. I mean, a few of us are. You don't have to be able to make a contribution of $1,000 or more. If we got enough people,
$5, $10, $15, $20, even $5 a month or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Enough people do it, 5, 10, 15. You got, now for those who have more, please be generous. But that's what's been, so personally, I come from a background of entertainment publications and stuff like that, entertainment news. I could have done something dealing with entertainment, which we all will always support. You know what I'm saying? What the latest shows and movies are, and the latest Ratchet TV shows and all that. I could have did all of that and had a news magazine on the newsstand that people pay for. But we understood the assignment that this was needed. And this is a personal sacrifice on my part. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I could be doing something else and making money, like making money. You understand what I'm saying? So this is a personal sacrifice on my part that, I know it was to fill a void that was definitely needed. So there have been donations that have personally helped me continue to do this. You understand what I'm saying? So this is real talk. We always give you real talk for the community. One of the other ways that you can support my first book, we celebrating our 10-year anniversary. My first book, Black Westchester, the origin story, is on Amazon.com, or you can hit me up and you can get an autographed copy directly from me. That's the whole story of how it went down, how we got started, some of the trials and tribulations we went through. Great read. You know what I'm saying? That's another way. I have 3 books out. Damon has a few books out. That's another way of supporting. Also, you can make donations at electronically at PayPal. I do have Zelle, Cash App, and Venmo for those people. But also, or just writing a check to Black Westchester, and you hit me and I'll give you a address. But for those who want to take out ads, congratulatory ads or whatever, for our 10 years, hit me, blackwestchester@gmail.com. Thank you for those who we've already been hit. People like the African American men of Westchester already hit us up. Senator Shelley Mayer's already hit us up, and several others. But get your ads in now, and thank you for your support. And I just can't, that we couldn't have been here, we couldn't have made it this 10 years without you. And we won't make it past these 10 years without you. And that's real talk. I know a lot of people don't know how this conversation, but it is real, and freedom is not free. And it costs to do this, and we don't want to have a paywall up where you have to pay to read the stories. We don't want to have, what I'm saying, like other places have to charge guests to come on. You know what I'm saying? To be, we want to keep it free for the people, but the only way we do that is through help like y'all, from supporters like y'all. So if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit like, make sure you subscribe, and make sure that you share. You know what I'm saying? And once you subscribe, you hit the little bell button, and every time we post something on here, you will get a notification. We're also on X. Make sure that you're following us on X, on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. We're trying to keep it, trying to come out on various different mediums so that we can get the word out. And as always, you can see all the shows on blackwestchester.com, where we archive all the shows. The video of this will go up in a couple of hours. And thank you for the trustees from Mamaroneck coming through. There are issues throughout this county that do not get news. News 12 may write something for 5 minutes or 10 minutes and show you about it and keep it moving. You might even read about it in Aloha once or twice, but there's very few places you're going to hear like the issues, like the housing. We dealt with the housing crisis in Greenberg. That was a big issue we dealt with. You know what I'm saying? We dealt with affordable housing in Yonkers too. Affordable housing is definitely something that is on our radar. Criminal justice reform and all that stuff is definitely on our radar. And we fight, we fight against anybody of power that's abusing their power, period. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, we don't back down from the smoke, and we have all our receipts. So, but we can only do that when the information is free flowing. You know what I'm saying? Like, some things I don't know until your people call me and be like, yo, did you know this is going on? Did you know? I got to say 70, 80% of the stuff that we run and some of the shows have been, someone has put me up on it. There was a tip that came from somewhere.
Right.
Like, I am not all-knowing and all-seeing, and I don't know what's going on in every one of the municipalities. Hell, I live in Mount Vernon, and I could trip over 10 stories on the way to the corner store, and I don't know everything going on. I can't keep up with everything going on in Mount Vernon. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, it's impossible without the people's involvement. And that includes writing letters to the editor, that including writing op-eds of things that are going on in your community that you feel that need to, some light need to be shed on those things. There's an open door policy always for all of that. And whether y'all utilize it or not, and will add to the growth of this medium or or not. So I just want to thank everybody who supported us, all the supporters who supported us for this 10 years. 10 years of giving you news with the Black point of view, 10 years of giving real talk for the community, 10 years, yo. Me and Damon, there's no way we saw this 10 years. We hear 10 years being picked by city and state as, you know what I'm saying, the Power Westchester Power 100 4 years in a row. Journalism fellowships I got from the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism, national awards. We got local media awards and stuff like that. I mean, nobody saw all of that coming. And, again, I got 3 books. They're all on Amazon. Definitely support, especially the first one, which tells you the history of Black Westchester. And it also celebrates the history of African-American newspapers from the Freedom Journal, our first one, all the way up to us. So, you just don't learn about our history, learn about the history of Black press, period. You know what I'm saying? I included all of that in there. Then I celebrate women of Westchester, which I celebrate our sister Leilani as the first Black female trustee in Mamaroneck. And then my last book, the third book that's out now, celebrates hip hop from the 914. And I'm working on the Men of Westchester book. So anybody who knows men that I need to celebrate in this book, who were the first who made initial significant strides, who need to be celebrated, definitely feel free. Email me I'm doing research now. Hopefully, this book can be out for Black History Month. Hopefully, depends on how things go. But you can email me at blackwestchester.com. Any last words, Bob? And we out.
No, that's all, AJ. That's pretty much it, man. I look forward to joining you next week and the Fisher celebration.
No doubt, no doubt. Peace. Everybody who supported us, all the contributors, all the co-hosts. Hopefully we get a lot of that going next year. Next week we'll be celebrating the 10-year anniversary period and the 10-year anniversary show specifically next week. And we just celebrated our 400th episode. This is episode 404. Until next week, peace. Damon was running in and around today, so he couldn't make it, but he will be back giving you that Damon perspective, that real unapologetically Black that he brings to the situation. He will be back next week. Peace.
Peace.
22 million Black victims of Americanism are waking up, and they're gaining a new political consciousness, becoming politically mature. And as they develop this political maturity, they're able to see the recent trends in these political elections. Any minority that has a block of votes that stick together is in a strategic position. Either way you go, that's who gets it. You're in a position to determine who go to the White House and who stay in the doghouse. You're the one who has that power. You and I have never seen democracy. All we've seen is hypocrisy. Today, look around America. We see America not through the eyes of someone who has enjoyed the fruits of Americanism. We see America through the eyes of someone who has been the victim of Americanism. We don't see any American dream. We've experienced only the American nightmare. We haven't benefited from America's democracy. We've only suffered from America's hypocrisy. And the generation that's coming up now can see it and are not afraid to say it. And are not afraid to say it. And are not afraid to say it. Check us next week. Episode 405, the 10-year anniversary show of People Before Politics. Until then, peace.